Hello, everybody. This is Tom Eckert here. You're listening to my podcast, Numerology, a GPS for the soul. This is your place to learn about the true power of numerology and how to use it to bring out the best in yourself, understand your loved ones better, take wise decisions, and prepare for your future. In other words, how to live your life aligned with your true destiny. Take your time to educate yourself and share these podcasts with your friends and family so they too can enjoy the great benefits of numerology. Enjoy! Hello there to all my beloved listeners to yet another fascinating episode. Today, we're about to explore the numerology chart of Elon Musk. And before I say anything further, first of all, if you're new to my podcast, then I want to welcome you. In my podcast, we discuss numerology as a path for inner transformation, spiritual growth, self-understanding. And I personally attempt to make numerology accessible and applicable for everyday life matters and provide you with the information that will help you live your life in a more conscious, more balanced, more grounded way that's also aligned with your soul and your deeper purpose in this lifetime. Now, here are just a few ways you can dive deeper into numerology should you wish to do so. First and foremost, you can book a numerology reading with me. In a numerology reading, you can ask any question that is burning in your life and get precise answers tailored especially to you. You can read more about my readings and contact me through the link in the episode description to book your reading with me. If you wish to study numerology on a deeper level or even pursue it as a career, there are 2 study paths currently available. First, check out my self-study numerology courses that give you the rare opportunity to learn numerology online at your own pace, be it on your mobile device, your tablet, or your laptop. My library currently contains 2 self-study courses, but more are coming up. Or if you want to be initiated into the rare depths of numerology, you can sign up to my complete path of certification, where you get to study directly with me, one-on-one, all the way from where you're at, be it a complete beginner to a numerology expert, and you get certified as a professional numerologist. Now, to read more about both study paths, check out the links in the episode description. So today, my friends, we are going to explore the numerology chart of the very unique, innovative, controversial figure, Elon Musk. Now, just like our previous episode, where I explored the numerology chart of the beloved spiritual teacher Adyashanti, I'm never preparing myself. I always interpret on the go. The reason for doing this is that I want to keep the interpretation fresh. I don't want to come with any preconceived ideas. I don't have any biographies of Elon Musk. In fact, I don't know that much about Elon Musk's life. Of course, we all know he's a very, very rich man. Most of us knows that he has something to do with Tesla, or SpaceX. Maybe some of us know his past with PayPal. We do know that he's pretty much very brilliant with computers and technology. We know he's been partly in politics. Definitely a very sort of outspoken, controversial personality, but also very interesting. And so, because I wanted to also analyze this chart, and some of you have asked of me to do that, then I'm really fascinated to dive into his chart. Now, it's important to say that I have no judgment. I come with as a complete slate towards Elon Musk's chart. I don't have any sort of opinion if he's like some kind of good, benevolent being or someone who's doing really bad things. I think like all human beings, Elon is complicated and complex being. I think he does a lot of interesting things, a lot of good things, definitely does a lot on the broad scale. But what we're going to explore, and I think that's the more important thing, is we're going to go into his inner world, into the makeup of who he is, less about what he is doing and the money that he has. That interests me less. Although those facts you can simply Google online. That's easy. So we're going to actually look at the chart and analyze like who who is he? Who is this man really? And I think that's the beauty of numerology. So again, I'm doing this on the go, meaning it's completely, we can say, improvised. I have no notes, nothing pre-recorded. Simply his chart right here next to me. So it's all live, and part of why I'm doing this again and again, I love doing these episodes, is they show you how numerology behaves as a language, and how you, as you study numerology, can also learn how to speak that language, to appreciate that language, to read it on yourself, on others, and see the benefit. So let's dive right in. Now, what astonished me, and I will say that really from the get-go about Elon Musk, is that you see a very controversial person, right? Someone who's very famous, who's spoken about a lot, very rich and all that. But in fact, when you look at Elon's chart, the first thing that struck me was to see a 7 and a 2 in his core numbers, in what I call the sacred triad. 7 and 2 are one of the most shy and introverted numbers that, I mean, if I had to choose of all the numbers, there are other numbers that can be a bit more shy, but of all numbers, you know what I mean? Like, these are like the most. You just don't get more shy than 2 and 7 together. There's something so introverted about 7 and 2. And this is what struck me. I said, like, wow, isn't it interesting? Like, we really know very little about the inner reality of people. It's, we don't appreciate how difficult it actually is to be very famous and very rich. We always think it's so easy and so glamorous a life. I think it's actually a very hard life. People see you only as an image. And they only think, oh, you have a lot of power, you have a lot of money, why didn't you do this, why did you do that? Everybody is very smart at criticizing others, but I think not many people take the time to actually contemplate, what does it actually mean to be in such a position? And I think it's actually very lonely and very isolating. That being said, I don't want to enter like a whole rant about this, but I think it's surprising for me to see how shy, like there's something shy about his personality. Like and again, I don't know what his childhood has been like, but I can almost bet that as a child there was a lot of shyness, like a lot of weirdness, like a lot of um being a bit awkward, an outsider, sort of like more like an observer, but very perceptive, by the way. That's also very, very present, because it's not only 7 and 2, but let's be more detailed. We're looking at 16-7 and 11-2, something extremely sharp. So like you can see that there's like an extremely keen perception, someone who's extremely perceptive of processes, of the inner workings of things. And people like that can often be very, talented in understanding processes and people and subtleties in general. Now, I do know, again, I only know tidbits, really, not the details, but I definitely know that he was very, very bright, or showed like a very early talent for computers, and even sold, I think, like a computer game when he was around 12, for like $500, something like that. So that's like sort of a story. So that's very, very possible. Now, I'll give you some added information here that will make the picture a little bit more interesting, or let's say complex, because on the other end of his chart, he also has a 3 and a 1. And so I'm looking at his chart and I'm saying, like, I see the 7 and 2, introvert. I see the 3 and the 1. I see, extrovert. Fascinating. So I think like with Elon, there's also a gap between the inner and the outer. Like I can definitely imagine someone who has a little bit of two worlds. Um, Someone who can be very deep, actually in like on the inside. Someone with whom you can have actually extremely deep conversations. Someone who has deep thinking, deep thought, deep understanding of things. But when he expresses himself on the outside, he might come out as extremely um, selfish, cocky, childish, um, s- a little bit too quick to reach conclusions. Because 3 and 1 again is a combo. So here I'm speaking already in the language of number combinations, which by the way you can study in my online self-study course. Highly recommended for those of you who want to go again a little deeper into numerology, where numbers actually converge and work in synergy. So the 3 and the 1 is more childish, is more excited, is more sort of, okay, let's just do it right now, right here, no patience. And in contrast to 7 and 2 that are, much more slow, much more sort of taking their time to really understand what's happening, um, to really perceive things deeply. So I think it can also possibly be a way of coping in a world that doesn't necessarily appreciate a lot of sensitivity. I would assume that part of this personality, okay, part of um the reason that there's this mechanism of 3-1 and the 2-7 in this chart is because the 3-1 is all, one can say, like a form of defense mechanism. Like I learned to be, or Elon learned to be very sort of outgoing, selfish, I do things my way and how I want, whenever I want, in my way, as a way to possibly also protect himself from, being ridiculed, laughed at, and so on. That's one aspect. The other aspect is also, I would see a complementary element here. Like on the one hand, being able to be extremely detailed, deep, insightful, and someone who's also guided by ideals. I mean, after all, an 11-2 and a 16-7, and the 11-2's position in the soul urge location, which is a lot about our aspirations, our dreams, our ideals, right? A lot of inspiration, and then the ability to sort of execute it in a very fresh, young, creative manner, which is again 3 and 1. So I also see it as a complementary element, a very interesting one, in fact. I would even say that it's possibly part of what allows Elon to also express himself and also when I say express himself, I mean the entirety of himself, meaning also the things that he wants to manifest in this world in an innovative manner. And I think if you look at Elon's biography and what he's doing, like, you can say many things about the man. And for me, again, it doesn't really matter. I don't take sides here. I think people are fascinating. Humanity is fascinating and crazy and a lot of things and amazing at the same time. Um, but one thing you cannot say about Elon is he's that he's not innovative. I mean, the man is very, very innovative. I mean, the man is, you know, from being, being a co-creator of PayPal, and Tesla and SpaceX and the Boring Company and um and buying Twitter and turning it into X and I don't know what. Like this is a person who also thinks about, all his like what's it called? I forgot the whole name of his the his old project about, inhabiting Mars. And, he's also thinking with the future of humanity. Do I agree with the way he looks at the future of humanity or what he invests in? Maybe I could, But what do I know? I'm not a multi-billionaire, and I'm not in his position. It's always nice to sit behind, a computer screen and think you would do better. But I would just say, in terms of values, maybe there are more important things. But still, the man thinks about the future of humanity, providing, global internet, and trying to create technology that will help us, I don't know, maybe save humanity in the future or whatnot. So you see the idealism. Fascinating. And by the way, here's a fascinating detail. Like the 3 in this chart is not just a 3, it's a 12. It's a 12-3. So in fact, the sacred triad of Elon is a 16-7, a 12-3, and an 11-2. All of these numbers in many ways are actually strongly mystical. Like this guy, whether he admits it or not, okay? I have no clue what's Elon's approach to spirituality, but I bet you that on the unconscious level, this man is deeply guided. Like there's something from a higher level that guides this person. There's a lot of spiritual inspiration there, even mystical inspiration. Because the 12-3, again, I'm sharing here unique information, by the way, that was passed down to me by my teacher, Sharon Ron from Israel, of the human body numerology. The 12-3 is also a mystical number. There's a lot of depth to it. In comparison to normal 3s, it functions also as a normal 3 with all the qualities that we mentioned earlier, more creative, childlike, and so on. But when we look at this combo of the 12-3, 11-2, 16-7, we see a lot of depth. We see a lot of inspiration. We see a lot of openness to the spiritual dimension. And again, spiritual dimension doesn't necessarily have to be meditation, angels, reading some Kabbalistic texts or some kind of, Hindu scriptures. It has nothing to do with that. It means open to the subtle dimensions of life, being informed by them, being sort of led by these things. So I want to add some information, that I didn't talk about. There's a 7 and a 1. There's a 5, joining the picture. So I'm going to open a whole new dimension now that's going to really add another layer to the chart. But before I do that, if you're enjoying this podcast and you want to keep learning more in-depth numerology and you also want to support this work, then make sure to click the follow or subscribe button on the platform you're listening from. Make sure to turn on the notifications bell and become part of my numerology community. My friends, it really, really helps me a lot. And also make sure to follow me on Substack, where I write in-depth content about numerology and Dharma combined. The links are in the episode description. And lastly, of course, make sure to check out the comment section, my friends. Leave a comment. Tell me what you'd like me to make an episode about. Tell me what you think. Share your thoughts. It's a great way to be in a conversation. Okay, so having said that, let's keep going. Now, when you look at the chart of Elon, what you also see is like a 7-1, okay? Two important calculations derived from Elon's date of birth are the life path, 16-7, and the birthday number. That's a 1, a 28-1. 7 and 1 sort of condensed into sort of like one essence, representing sort of like the inborn qualities, right? Both coming from the date of birth, meaning they're much more intrinsic and immediate. 7 and 1 are loners, lone wolves, people who go their own path. So while we've seen the 7 and the 2 before, the 2 is definitely more cooperative, or the 3 sort of more open-minded and so on, the 7 and the 1 are extremely, self-made. And when I look at 7-1 personalities or people or characters, one of the immediate things that comes to my mind is like, wow, this is a self-made persona. And I mean, come on, like just read Elon Musk's biography. Again, I just like even quick facts, you know what I mean? A self-made persona, definitely. In fact, I just read that Elon Musk at an early age left, he was born in South America, in the apartheid, situation, and he didn't want to go to military, which was sort of compulsory, and um, at his time, obligatory, and he simply left. He left the country, left to Canada out of idealism. Like, I don't want to be part of this. And so it's fascinating, right? It's both like the idealism that we spoke about before, the 11, the 7, the 12-3, but also the self-made decision. Like, I'm going my own path. I'm not following a path carved out by society. This is very 7-1-ish, by the way. Like, because they're both odd numbers, self-made, following their own path, carving out their own path, and guided deep from his emotional world, right? Because they are both, when you're looking at numbers like 1671 coming from the date of birth, they are so deeply related to one's emotions, one's deeper subconscious. Like, yes, I'm guided to do it my own way. Now, what's fascinating, by the way, is that his personality number is a 1. So while on we can say the more deep inner plane, the life path number, the expression number, the soul urge, we're looking at numbers that can also be shy or more tender or vulnerable. 7, very deep, also very vulnerable. 11-2, okay, like there's the 2 there, extremely vulnerable. 3, definitely very vulnerable. But then the 1, so like I show myself in the world, or I sort of I move in the world or in society, or I radiate, a sort of a charisma or an independence or a sort of a strength. And I think that's very important. This can also be partly a mask, but not only, never, because it's part of his chart. So it's also part of him being this sort of independent persona. It's not the strongest characteristic, but it's a strong one indeed. Not to mention that, there's also another 1 appearing in his maturity number. So there's a double 1 in his chart, 2 locations. It's a 19-1, which, by the way, is maybe a symbol for misuse of power and needing to understand how to use power at one's later years, right? The maturity number kicks around 35 to 40 years of age and starts to become very active. Now, if you don't know what the maturity number is, or any of the numbers I've been talking about, go back to my previous episodes. There's an entire episode about the maturity number. There are episodes about each and every number I've been mentioning, like number 3, 7, 2, 11, 2, 1. Please go back and learn, or definitely purchase my self-study course about the fundamentals of numerology. Study all of that more in detail. Now, I promised you the 5. And the reason I'm sort of like giggling, or, I have a little grin on my face, because Elon also has a 5. Now, where does he have that 5? Well, also in his soul urge, and it's a 14-5. It's a karmic debt. How can that be that he has 14-5 and 11-2 both in the soul urge? Well, good that you asked. So here I'm giving you a tip. If somebody has a middle name, I always check both charts with the middle name and without the middle name. So Elon's full name with the middle name is going to be Elon Reeve Musk. Without middle name is going to be Elon Musk. So I have to look at both charts because both are active, okay, and are important. And so without Reeve, when we look at only Elon Musk, 14-5 is his soul urge. And suddenly expression number becomes 2. So the 2 remains, but suddenly we have a 5. And then we have a very interesting scenario, because we're looking at 16-7 life path, 14-5 soul urge, and a 2 expression number. I believe I made an episode about the 2-5-7 as a interesting combination. I can only tell you this. First of all, 2 karmic debts in the upper triad already creates a lot of bumpiness, okay, on the road. It doesn't necessarily mean negative, by the way, simply bumpiness. Like, the thing is, what's interesting here is that the 5 and the 7, and again, I'm sharing with you unique tidbits, or, pieces of the human body numerology, right? Again, discoveries by my teacher, Sharon Ron, really, really brilliant discoveries that I've confirmed over the years. You see the 7, the 5, the 2. This is a very unpredictable personality. And this is what I wanted to sort of like, the bomb I wanted to drop here. Elon Musk has something extremely unpredictable. Now, what's funny to me and sort of what I'm also laughing is because Donald Trump has the 7 and 5. He doesn't have the 2, but 7 and 5 is also, again, is extremely unpredictable. Like you never know what's going to be next. And we know that about Donald Trump, but also Elon Musk has that. And that's amazing because they also both connected and then sort of, fell out and so on and so forth. It's just fascinating to see that very unpredictable personas coming out with all kinds of crazy statements on social media. Like you don't know what's going to be next, and that's so hilarious to just see that in the chart. It's just embodied right there. So, and why is it even exacerbated? Because the 7 and the 5 in this case are both karmic debts, 16.7 and 14.5. And then the two adds, right? 2 is like this sort of like very wavy, watery, moody energy. When it joins that picture, my friends, you have here one hell of a roller coaster, both emotional and mental and all kinds of things. So if I would see, let's say, and I would know nothing about Elon Musk, and that's the way I'm sort of trying to speak about his chart, as if I would know nothing about this person. Um, I would also say, I don't know, like this person might really suffer from an early age already from all kinds of psychological problems, because there's a lot of turmoil, and turbulence. Could I tell you? Like, another fact that I do know about Elon Musk is that he's on the spectrum. Could I tell that from the chart? No, not necessarily. Not at all. Is that an option when you see like such a combo in the upper triad, like a 16.7, 14.5, and a 2? Could be, because it lends to a sort of like a psychological instability or something that is a little bit avant-garde or out of the box, extremely out of the box. Does it mean it has to be autistic? Not necessarily, or on the spectrum, whatever. So I cannot tell that, but definitely very, very interesting. The 5, by the way, in the Solarge also lends to a lot of creative thinking, like a lot of out of the box thinking, a lot of fascinating and interesting solutions to problems. And from, again, the very, very little that I know about Mr. Musk, I do think that he has a very out of the box mind. Like he also a quick thinker, by the way, which is also very typical for like the 11 in the Solarge, right? When you look at his full name and the 5 without the full name, without a middle name, both very, very sort of like highly inspired and also very like quick thinkers. So I think his mind is bright and strong. Um, a person of when you have 5 in the soul urge, it's very often like a lot of solutions are simply flowing through you. Like it's it's like a stream of endless possibilities of solutions, like how to tackle a certain riddle or a certain problem, and tackle it in a new way. It's a bit like 5 is like the shortcut finder. You know what I mean? 5 finds new ways to approach old problems. Um, and that's, I think, like a unique capacity. And in general, by the way, 7 and 5 is also, they are people who show brilliance a lot of the time. So sometimes you even find that in charts of geniuses. So here we go, like a person with a lot of capacities, but also complex. It's like every person, complex. Would I think this person is going to be rich when he grows up if I would not know anything and I would meet him when he's 15? No, not necessarily, not at all. Would I think that he's very, very interesting, multi-layered, complex, and all the things I've shared with you? Yes, I think he is. I think he has a lot of potential. Very often, people with 7 and 2 in the core numbers are people that have a lot of potential, but usually it flowers a little later. Um, in his case, of course, he has the 3 and the 1 that give him that extra boost of speed, we can say, because the 7 and 2 are a little slower, 3 and 1 are a little faster. So maybe he was able to extract what was hidden there in the 7 and the 2 and actually give it expression earlier on in his life. But sometimes if you're a 7 and a 2, you sort of like you grow slowly, but when you reach deeper fruition in your life, maybe in your 40s, 50s, um, usually, sometimes even a little later, it can be very impressive. So I think for now I'll stop at that. Maybe I'll say one last thing. I mean, someone who is born with a 16-7 life path, again, there's a range of how that may play out and how severe the impact can be, but it's not an easy one. It's coming into this world with a complex emotional world, and sometimes experiencing already early on in life the sense of abandonment and not belonging. Very often, I've seen many charts of people with the 16-7 in their life path location who've been adopted, who don't know their, biological parents, who've been left, behind, abandoned in many different ways. But also just that feeling of being an outsider, being not understood. And I think from the little that I know, I think that lines up with the personality of Elon Musk. So that's where I want to stop. So I hope that listening, being with me as I interpret this chart live on the go, or at least not live, it's recorded for you, but live as in not, pre-recorded or pre, I haven't prepared myself. That's what I'm trying to say. So listening to me on the go as I interpret and seeing how the numbers come to life, I really hope that it gives you that feeling of the juiciness of numerology, the aliveness of numerology, and also maybe, I don't know, tickles you a little bit, like to study numerology a bit deeper. I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing to study numerology. I think it's amazing to educate ourselves and our kids with numerology, so that we understand each other better. We're able to see the differences and appreciate them and support each other better to give a better education to ourselves and to those we love. So that's my little yeah opinion about that. And before I wrap this up, again, if you enjoyed this episode and you want to keep supporting and also learning more in-depth numerology, make sure to subscribe, follow, and turn on the notifications bell on the platform you're listening from. Make sure to become part of this community. Make sure to support this work. It goes a long way, my friends. I need the support. It's not easy to keep producing and creating. Your support is really, really deeply appreciated. And also remember to follow me on Substack, where I write, about numerology and Dharma combined. Again, the link is in the episode description. Remember to comment, because commenting is being part of a conversation, and I would always love to know what you think and your ideas for future episodes. I always answer people, so please go ahead. And of course, if you want to experience numerology firsthand, don't forget to check out my numerology readings. A great way to experience numerology. And of course, if you want to study it, then go ahead and check out my self-study numerology courses and my in-depth numerology certification studies if you really want to acquire deeper mastery of numerology. My friends, what a joy. Thank you again for being with me. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next episodes. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, and you want to go deeper into numerology, check out my website, tom-eckert.com. You can also book a numerology reading or even study numerology yourself through my courses. I'll see you in the next episode.